Can you name the first 10 presidents in order? Most people can't get past 3. Using a little-known memory technique that dates back to ancient Greece, you will learn how to memorize all 10 in just minutes. George Washington was the first U.S. president. This image represents George Washington. The number 1 is represented by a unicorn, because unicorns only have one horn. Next, we have to convert the name Washington into a picture. Washington can be broken down into washing, like a washing machine, and ton, like a 1-ton barbell. If we picture a unicorn lifting a 1-ton barbell while standing on top of a washing machine, we will forever remember that George Washington was the first president. This image will be burned into your mind forever every time you think of George Washington. John Adams was the second U.S. president. This image represents John Adams. The number 2 is represented by a bicycle because bicycles have 2 wheels. Next, we have to convert the name Adams into a picture. Adams sounds almost identical to atom, like an atom from science class. If we picture a floating bicycle with 2 atoms instead of wheels, we will forever remember that John Adams was the second president. This image will be burned into your mind forever, every time you think of John Adams. Thomas Jefferson was the third U.S. president. This image represents Thomas Jefferson. The number 3 is represented by a triceratops because triceratops have 3 horns. Next, we have to convert the name Jefferson into a picture. Jefferson can be broken down into chef, like a professional chef, and her son. If we picture a chef and her son riding on top of a triceratops, we will forever remember that Thomas Jefferson was the third president. This image will be burned into your mind forever every time you think of Thomas Jefferson. James Madison was the fourth U.S. president. This image represents James Madison. The number 4 is represented by a 4-leaf clover because they have 4 leaves. Next, we have to convert the name Madison into a picture. Madison sounds similar to mad at sun, like someone who is mad at the sun. If we picture an angry 4-leaf clover yelling at the sun, we will forever remember that James Madison was the 4th president. This image will be burned into your mind forever, every time you think of James Madison. James Monroe was the 5th U.S. president. This image represents James Monroe. The number 5 is represented by a star because stars have 5 points. Next, we have to convert the name Monroe into a picture. Monroe sounds similar to man-row, like a man who is rowing a boat. If we picture a man rowing a boat while wearing a shirt with a star on his chest, we will forever remember that James Monroe was the 5th president. This image will be burned into your mind forever, every time you think of James Monroe. John Quincy Adams, the son of John Adams, was the 6th U.S. president. This image represents John Quincy Adams. The number 6 is represented by dice because dice have 6 sides. Next, we have to convert the name Adams into a picture. Adams sounds almost identical to atom, like an atom from science class. If we picture an atom with 6 dice orbiting the nucleus as if they were electrons, we will forever remember that John Quincy Adams was the 6th president. This image will be burned into your mind forever, every time you think of John Quincy Adams. Andrew Jackson was the 7th U.S. president. This image represents Andrew Jackson. The number 7 is represented by a globe, because the Earth has 7 continents. Next, we have to convert the name Jackson into a picture. Jackson sounds similar to jacked sun, like a sun flexing its muscles. The term jacked refers to someone having large muscles. If we picture the sun flexing its large muscles right in front of the globe, we will forever remember that Andrew Jackson was the 7th president. This image will be burned into your mind forever, every time you think of Andrew Jackson. Martin Van Buren was the 8th U.S. president. This image represents Martin Van Buren. The number 8 is represented by an octopus because they have 8 tentacles. Next, we have to convert the name Van Buren into a picture. Van Buren can be broken down into van, like a cargo van, and bureau, like the Federal Bureau of Investigations, or FBI for short. If we picture an FBI van with an octopus riding on top, we will forever remember that Martin Van Buren was the 8th president. This image will be burned into your mind forever, every time you think of Martin Van Buren. William Henry Harrison was the 9th U.S. president. This image represents William Henry Harrison. The number 9 is represented by a baseball player because there are 9 players on the field during a baseball game. Next, we have to convert the name Harrison into a picture. Harrison sounds similar to hairy son, like a boy who is very hairy. If we picture an extremely hairy little league baseball player, we will forever remember that William Henry Harrison was the 9th president. This image will be burned into your mind forever every time you think of William Henry Harrison. John Tyler was the 10th U.S. president. This image represents John Tyler. The number 10 is represented by bowling pins because there are 10 pins in a bowling game. Next, we have to convert the name Tyler into a picture. Tyler sounds identical to Tyler, like a person who installs tile. If we picture a man installing tile next to a bowling ball and pins, we will forever remember that John Tyler was the 10th president. This image will be burned into your mind forever every time you think of John Tyler. Think you can now name all 10 presidents? Take our short quiz linked below in the description to test your memory.